Hello again, and we will continue on this video working with the HelloWorld application. We developed the user interface, how we want it to look like. We used one view and we added three components. One component called text field, one component called label, and one component called button. To learn more about all of these components, you can go to the Quick Help Inspector and you select the component, and you will see here some description and some links to getting more information about that component. And as you click from one to the other, you get different information on what you would like to what you can learn about. So we have a user interface, but it's not intelligent. It doesn't do much. So we need to build the intelligence. The intelligence is done with these two files, the viewController.h, viewController.m. Why these two? If we click on the identity inspector here, while selecting the outer boundary of that screen, you see these blue lines. This says this is a view controller. The view controller is a logical layer that provides the brain for that view. Part of that brain is how this view is displayed on the phone and how it interacts with the different phone devices and so on and so forth. But part of it also is what we can add to make this app intelligent. Like in our case, we want the app, when the user clicks that button, to grab whatever message is included in this one component and replace the message on this second component with that one. So there are multiple steps that we can do, and the first one is we would like to see that code, the brain behind that view, right next to it. So on the top bar on the right side, there is the the standard editor. There is the assistant editor. So click on the assistant editor. When you click on the assistant editor, it will automatically recognize that this view controller has the brain programmed in the or is coupled or attached or linked to this class file or these two files, viewController.h and .m. So you will see here the viewController.h, and you can see it in the beginning. And if you want to switch to the other one, you can click from here and switch to the two. When you look at the file, this is a program file, this is code. If you did any programming before, this is similar to any code that you have used. If you never did programming before, this is where we write instructions to tell the operating system to do exactly what it wanted to do. In other words, in here, we tell the operating system what these things mean, what they intended to do, and so on. Fortunately, we are not building from scratch. We are building using libraries. So this text field already knows a lot of things. The label is the same thing and the button the same thing. All what we really need to tell the operating system is take that from here, put it here when the user clicks the button. Since we're going to grab data from this component and we want to deal with it here, and since we want to put data in this component and we want to deal with it in the files, we need to connect these components with the file. To make that connection, we select the component, press the control key, and drag to the assistant editor. So I'm pressing the control key and dragging. You see here insert outlet or action, release. When you release, you see this window or dialog where you have an option to establish a connection. This connection is an outlet connection, and there's another type called action. So two types of connection. Outlet, whenever you want to connect because you want to either read data from a component or change data in a component. Action is when you want to respond to something that the user have done. So here this is an outlet. We have to give it a name. This is a text field, so we're going to give it the prefix text, and then we're going to call this as text message. The type is called the UI text field. This basically refers to the library class that defines what a text field is. Click connect, and you see a property connection is established, Xcode give you a visual indicator here to show that there is a connection between this property and that text field. Want to do the same for the label, so press the control key and drag, click and drag, and release. Notice that we release between the interface, which is line 11, and the end, which is line 14. So we don't release after the end or before interface, it's between them both. Release, same thing, connection is an outlet. Since this is a label, we will use the 3-letter prefix label, and we're going to call this label message. Meaning that this is the label where the message will be displayed, and this is where the user will enter the text for that message. The display button is different because the display, I'm not going to change anything on the display itself, but what I want it to do is I want to listen when the user click on the button. So I want to do an action. I want to have the app behave in a certain way once the user clicks that button. So we'll establish an action connection for that. So press the control key and insert. In this time, we're not inserting an outlet, we're inserting an action. Why we are inserting an action? Because when the user click the button, I want to do something, so that's an action. And then the name, I want to call it button, or actually I want to name the action, not the button. I got myself confused a little bit. So I want to name the action. So what action do I want to do here? It is called display message. You want to be explicit in naming those actions so that you can know what they are about. So this is display message, and what event you want this action to take place. This is touch up inside, which is the click event. Is there an argument? Yes, although actually I don't need that argument, so you can choose none in this case. And I also, this is the type here, it's a button or an ID. So you click connect, and here is display message. So we're done with what we need to do in the view controller.h, which is establishing a connection between the components on the view. And now I will tell you, this is called the header file. This is why it has the H as an extension, the header file. And the header file provides definition of what properties or actions you need to control or you need to process during your application. We need now to switch to the implementation file, which is the .m file. So view controller.m. And when you view to the view controller.m, and let me make some space, if you look here, you can open the navigation area, and you can open and close the utility area. So I want to close the utility area. Actually, I'm not going to use the navigation area also, so I can close that to make room for myself. You can also make different sizes for both screens that you are using. When you see this, you will get a little bit maybe intimidated. Try not to. Look for the display message. Here is our display message. This is the action that we define. Let's forget about everything else for now. In that action, we want to do two things. Actually, we want to do one thing. We want to set the text on the label to whatever text there is in the text field. In order to do this, we want to use the label. So if you try to say label, and we called it label message, so you can say label message, and it's not going to recognize the label message that you had over here. This property that we created, we want to use it from the header to the implementation, which is the .m file. And to do this, there is one step that we have to take care of. So right at line 16, after the implementation, we will use a directive called synthesize, and we'll give the name of that property, text message, and the label message. This is defines what you did, takes what you did in the header file and makes it available to you as you type here in the display message. So what I want to do is I want to take the text from the text field and put it in the label. And to do this, to access anything in one of the components or on the properties, we use a mechanism called messaging. So I want to send the message to the text field. So to send the message, you open square brackets. You start by using the name of the property you want to send the message to, text message, space, and then what message you want to send. And in this case, it has a message called text, which give you a string called a string for whatever is displayed in the text field. Here is a description. You can click here for more help, and it tells you, it gives you back a string, and we will learn more about that later on. So click enter to select that message. So this is a message that give you the text from the text message. What do I want to do with this message? I want to put that inside another message that goes to the label. So I want to call the label message, and what do I want to do with the label message? I want to set the text for the label message. There is a message called set text, and I use a colon to specify whatever text I want, and everything needs to be in a square bracket, semicolon at the end. So what did I do here? Every message I send has to be in a square bracket. So that's a rule. You memorize it. And then semicolon at the end of every instruction. So this line is called an instruction. Every instruction is something you want the operating system to do for you. An instruction ends with a semicolon. It's like you making a sentence in English and you end with a stop. That's the same concept here. So what should be in an instruction? There could be so many different things in an instruction, but one of them is sending a message or to a component or to a property. So here I'm sending the message called set text to the property called label message, and that requires some value, some data. Where am I getting that data from? I am getting this data from sending another message to another component. So I'm sending the message text, which means get the text to the component, the text field component, and that gives me that message. So now let's try. You see here a status update. It says no issue, and it's now loading the simulator. It's taking a little bit more time here. Here it came, and enter the message. So I will say hello class, then click display, and whatever message you entered here was taken. This whole string was taken and was assigned to this message. Here is how it was done on line 32 here. So I come and I enter a message. This is a nice app. So this is a message. I enter text. So when you send the message text to this text field, because we called this text field text message, if you recall, and then you click on the display. Once you click on the display, this action, this what we call method or module that has a beginning curly brace and an ending curly brace will be executed. And what does it do? It takes that text and set it in the label, which is, this is the label. So click, you see it changes directly, and so on. The keyboard does not disappear yet. We will do that in the next video.